Jason Palmer, one of the hosts of The Intelligence, The Economist's daily current affairs podcast. The Economist's award-winning shows make sense of what matters, from our special series on China's president to our weekly podcasts on business, technology, and American politics. Our journalists provide fair, in-depth reporting on the events shaping the world. To get the annual plan for less than $2.50 per month, search for Economist Podcasts Plus to start listening today.
Hello and welcome to Want to Hear Something Weird? Weird podcast about weird stuff. I'm one of your hosts, Tom.
And I'm Laura.
Laura, you have something weird to show me today? Not show me, because that would make for a bad podcast, but to tell me about, I believe.
Tell only, no show.
Yes.
Tom, do you want to hear something weird?
I would love to hear something weird. And the name of the show is Wanna, not Would You? Did you say would you?
I forget.
Regardless.
I have the memory of a goldfish.
Is that what tonight's subject is? The woman with the memory of a goldfish.
That would just, it would be all about
There
me.
is somebody like that has like a 20-second long memory or something. I think that's like what they base Memento on.
Right.
Yeah. Seems like is it a horrible existence?
Or is it a great existence?
I guess you forget, like you don't know. So
you're just always living in the moment.
Yeah, you're just always, everything's getting reset. Anyway.
No, today we're talking about reincarnation.
Ooh, being incarnated again.
Indeed.
For at least the second time.
Reincarnation is the belief that a soul can be reborn into a new body after death. Mm-hmm. Some people dismiss it as superstition. Others swear by its existence.
Yeah. Well, and like there are religions that believe in it.
Absolutely.
Some people think it happens to everyone. Some people think it only happens to some people, right? Some people think sometimes you can come back as an animal.
Yeah.
But I assume that's not what you're going to be talking about.
Today
a little boy who barked and said he used to be a dog.
No, in fact, we're going to talk about a little boy who was a Hollywood bigshot.
Whoa.
Reincarnation stories often emerge in children under the age of about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And that's the case with this story today. This 4-year-old boy named Ryan.
Okay.
It's present day, or roughly, last 10, 15 years.
Okay.
Ryan, who is from Oklahoma, likes to direct movies when he's out playing with friends, shouting action, normal kid stuff. But then it starts to essentially take over his life.
Okay.
The stories that he's telling about his
he's
past
just
life.
kind of like in it all the time. That's all he talks about.
It's something that comes up a lot, where he just kind of it to the point where it's goes beyond just sort of kid being, with a great imagination.
Yeah.
It's maybe there's something
like
to it.
At the very least, some kind of fixation or obsession.
Yes. So he makes comments both at home and at school, and I'm going to run through a list of some of the things that he describes.
Okay.
And remember them for later.
Okay. And also remember he's 4 years old, right?
Yes, he's 4 years old. He said he was from Hollywood and pleaded with his mom to take him there so he could see his other family. Okay. And apparently this was a pretty common thing. Like this came up a lot. I want to go back to see my old home, my old family.
And most people run away from their families to go to Hollywood, not run to them. So,
yeah.
Right? Already unusual.
He said he used to work at an agency where people changed their names.
Okay. That sounds like a Hollywood agency to me.
A talent agency, indeed. He said he had performed on stage in New York at a certain point in his life.
Oh, all right.
He went into a cafe that he said reminded him of Paris. A place.
I mean, that's just 4-year-olds say stuff like that all the time. This cafe reminds me of Paris.
which is a place he had never been as a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And he claimed that he went there on a big boat and saw the Eiffel Tower.
Okay.
He knew how to use chopsticks without being taught.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of unusual for a 4-year-old in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. He said he had a big house with a swimming pool that was located on a street whose name had the word rock in it.
Okay.
He owned a green car that he didn't like other people driving.
Oh, okay.
He used to go to the beach.
I think most people don't like other people driving their cars.
Yeah.
They'll allow it sometimes, sure.
So you don't like when I drive your car?
No, I don't mind if you drive my car. I'm always like very unsure about what the insurance situation is there when somebody else is driving your car.
Yeah, it can be a little murky.
Yeah. I feel like it's fine if that person's not because you can have a secondary driver, but I think that's only if like the person is driving your car frequently. I don't know, but we live in the same household and
we do?
Yeah, maybe I should. You haven't been hearing all the noises coming from the attic?
Realize.
That's me.
We just wanted to take a second to thank you for listening. Want to Hear Something Weird is a new podcast, and we're trying to get the word out about the show and reach listeners who like good stories about weird stuff. If you're enjoying the show, we'd love if you could subscribe and take a moment to give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. 5-star ratings really help to surface our show to new listeners. And if you really want to help the podcast, writing up a little review with that rating goes a very long way. That would be amazing. Thank you.
We're also super excited to hear from our listeners. You can tweet at us at WannaHearPod or follow us on Instagram at WannaHearPod. But really, we'd love any feedback, comments, or suggestions you want to email our way. We're at wannahearpod@gmail.com. If you want to email an audio note, we just might play your voice on an upcoming episode.
So he had a green car. He also liked to go to the beach a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He was sunburned a lot in the life that he remembered.
Oh, okay.
Which I think is something... Yeah, you would remember that. I mean, it's pretty vivid physical feeling of being sunburned.
I have very vivid memories of when I was a kid. It's pretty young, I think like 7 or 8, and I got like sun poisoning.
Oof.
And I had blisters on my shoulder.
Yikes.
And my friend AJ, who you know, of course, slapped me on the back like the Monday at school. And I think he still remembers that too because of the reaction. He's brought it up. So,
and you have yet to forgive him for that.
Yeah. So I think if I was reincarnated, I'd probably still remember that.
I'm sure he'd love to hear that. He had 3 adopted sons who...
To be clear, he didn't know when he slapped me on the back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's innocent.
He's innocent. It was just like very, it was like, hey, pal, how you doing? And like, he was like trying something new. And it just happened to be the exact wrong time to be doing it. And it was like I remember putting on a t-shirt that morning and being like, like this t-shirt hurts so much. So
yeah, oof, that is not
I think
good.
he popped one. I think he popped the big blister.
All right, let's move on. Ryan, going back to what he's remembering from his past life, he said that he had 3 adopted sons that he had given his name.
All right. But he didn't know his name.
Ryan did not know his name. Yes. And he said that he died when his heart exploded. So his mom, and meanwhile, he is begging and pleading to go back to Hollywood all through this. And his mom described it as, said he talked about it in such detail that it just did not seem like a child making it up. And he just was sort of relentless about it.
Right.
Would not let up. It wasn't just him, being a silly kid. She really, took it seriously. So she wants to do some research about old Hollywood. They go to the library to check out some books, and she brings a book home that included information about a movie from 1932 called Night After Night.
Okay. I'm not familiar with it, but
this book had pictures of, from the set.
Oh, okay. So like film stills,
right?
Behind the scenes.
And so Ryan and his mom are flipping through it, and Ryan says, "That's George. We did a picture together." And Mama, that guy's me. I found me. A guy standing right next to him.
Wow. Okay. That's George. He owes me $20.
So Mom's pretty shook at this point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If your kids go, "Oh, that's me," it's some, I'll let you continue. Does it explain what the guy looked like that he said, "That's me"?
Well, he looked like a classic Hollywood.
Oh, like an agent or something?
Well, he had a fedora. He just, that gangster film. It was a gangster film.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And so George, the guy that he recognized, not as himself, but just as someone he knew. The guy
that owed him $20, yeah.
You're spreading misinformation, slandering George.
Ma, take me to Hollywood. George owes me money.
George, it turns out, was George Raft, who was apparently a pretty well-known actor and dancer who specialized in gangster films in the 30s and 40s. Mm. But there was no record of who the person Ryan said was himself. All she knew is that he was an extra in the film, and that his name was not in the movie credits. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't easy to figure out who he was.
Yeah.
So she's concerned and wants to try to figure out what's going on with her son and wants to get help. And she writes a letter to the Division of Perceptual Studies at the University of Virginia School of Medicine. It is in the Psychiatry and Neurobehavioral Department.
Okay.
They study, basically based in, you can tell by the name, perceptual studies, studying things like reincarnation, past lives.
Extra perceptual studies?
Indeed, yes.
Yeah.
Or like near-death experiences, that kind of stuff.
I think I was telling you recently about, it's kind of unrelated, but a study I heard about where they tried to see if people could tell people were looking at them when their backs were turned. And the study showed greater than chance people knew. And even when they put people in a room on a closed circuit camera and just had somebody watch the TV, more times than not, they could tell. They should be doing more of this kind of stuff at school.
I agree.
I would have gone back for my graduate degree if that was the kind of courses being offered.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was reading about this DOPS, the Division of Perceptual Studies, thinking, gosh, that sounds fascinating. What an interesting thing to study.
Yeah.
So his mom's note made its way to Dr. Jim B. Tucker, who is the director of DOPS. Mm-hmm. He is actively working with kids who are talking about having these past life experiences. Mm. And Ryan was far from being the only kid. Dr. Tucker wrote a book, and he's spoken to thousands of kids who have had past life experiences or memories. A month before Dr. Tucker received her letter, he had been contacted by a producer for the TV show The Unexplained, which is the show hosted by William Shatner that kind of talks a lot about sort of strange, paranormal, unexplained, as it is in the name, unexplained phenomena.
Yeah, it kind of runs the gamut of weird stuff.
Yes. And they wanted to document his reincarnation research. He's a pretty, respected person in the field.
William Shatner, right? Of course. He was Captain Kirk.
And so Dr. Tucker told the producers about Ryan, and they flew out to meet with Ryan in Oklahoma. And what they wanted to do first and foremost was try to identify who the extra in the movie was that Ryan identified as himself. Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. That's going to make it easier to verify everything else.
Exactly. And so they hire a film archivist to take a look, and they were able to determine that the name of the extra was a man named Marty Martin.
Marty Martin. That guy's so nice they named him twice.
So who was Marty Martin?
That's what everybody in Hollywood wants to know.
Well, good news. I have I have the answers.
Great.
Marty Martin was born Morris Kalinsky.
Oh, so he was customer number one at the old name-changing agency.
Indeed. He was born in Philadelphia in 1903 and was born to a pretty lower or middle-class family. Certainly not a wealthy family. He had 2 sisters, and when he was in his 20s, he and one of his sisters went to New York City to pursue careers as dancers. So he was a tap dancer on Broadway. He later moved to Los Angeles, where he changed his name to Marty Martin and wanted to try to make it as an actor in the movies.
Can I ask you an unrelated question?
Yes.
If when we met, I told you my name was Tommy Thomas, would you have seen me again?
I would have Googled you and tried to find out if you had a little boy claiming to be you in a past life.
or if I had been
Tommy Thomason.
No, just Tommy Thomas. Marty Martin, Tommy Thomas.
I would have a lot of questions.
Yeah. I'd be like, no, that's my name. I didn't go to one of those name-changing agencies. I'll tell you that much.
I probably would have had to run a background check on you.
Yeah. You didn't already?
No, but you know what? I should, shouldn't I?
Too late now.
So Marty Martin tries to make it as an actor in Hollywood, but it really never takes off. And he, to the point where he kind of gets frustrated and decides to transition into being a talent agent.
Right, being on the other side of the lens.
So he opens an agency named the Marty Martin Agency. And it was pretty successful to the point where he became quite wealthy later in his life. He was married quite a number of times, but he only had one daughter of his own, one biological daughter with his last wife. And he had 5 stepchildren, including 3 boys that he adopted when he married for the last time, and they took his name.
Oh, okay. So he didn't really have a family. Do you know how many times he got married? Or
4 or 5.
4 or 5, jeez. So it sounds like he didn't really settle down until the last marriage.
Right. Yeah. So Dr. Tucker arranged a visit, along with the producers of The Unexplained, to so that Ryan and his mom can go to Hollywood.
Oh, nice.
And they, see the sights and also meet with Marty Martin's daughter, the one biological daughter.
Oh, right.
She was 8 years old when Marty passed away in 1964 of a brain hemorrhage.
Not a heart explosion.
Right. Ryan, when they met, was pretty confused about why she was grown up. It was a pretty...
Who's this broad? How come she's all grown up?
It seemed as though it was a pretty emotionally taxing meeting to the point where they didn't meet multiple times with her, with Ryan and her. But Dr. Tucker did work with her separately to help verify a lot of the claims that Ryan made about Marty.
Yeah, I can't even imagine, especially having lost your dad at an early age. Having some producer call you up and be like, hi, I work on William Shatner's show. There's a 4-year-old out there saying he's your dad. We'd like to fly him out to Hollywood and have you sit. I think that'd probably be a pretty firm pass from me.
Well, it seems as though she is quite open to it.
Yeah.
She works with Dr. Tucker.
I would be open. I think if somebody email, I don't know.
I just emailed you out of the blue.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, I'm saying that out loud, and now I'm thinking I'd be even less likely to respond to somebody that way. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to be on a TV show the first time.
Right. I'm not sure that she was on the show. Maybe she was. I don't know. But Dr. Tucker worked with her, to go through a lot of these claims that Ryan was making.
Yeah.
And here are some of the things that we've learned about Marty Martin and his life. He owned a large house with an outdoor swimming pool on Roxbury Street.
Oh,
if you remember, Ryan said
Street with rocks.
Street with rocks.
Wow, married 5 times and he still is able to buy a big house.
Yeah. Apparently
he must have done well for himself.
Apparently he and his last wife really were that's really when he was the wealthiest.
The wife was wealthy?
No, but I mean, towards the end of his life, that he was the most successful in terms of financial success. Marty traveled frequently, and on 4 occasions, he sailed to Europe to visit his sister who lived in Paris.
Wow.
So Ryan said he'd been to Paris, and Marty had been multiple times. Marty acted as an extra in movies before becoming a talent agent. Mm-hmm. And Ryan had claimed that Marty went to the beach a lot, was a big sunbather, and Marty Martin was a huge fan of going to the beach. He liked to watch surfers and loved to sunbathe.
Loved to get apparently was horrifically burned.
Yes. And apparently he was a bit of a ladies' man.
Well, married 5 times.
If you can imagine.
Yeah.
He had a favorite Chinese restaurant, which helps explain the chopsticks.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, and like in the 30s, Chinese food was I
harder
imagine,
to come by than it is.
Yeah, and probably way more prevalent in California because of the number of Chinese immigrants than it was anywhere else.
Yeah, and Marty owned a green car that he didn't let anyone else drive.
Wow.
So there were a lot of these facts that did line up. In total, there were about 50 statements that Ryan had made that Dr. Tucker was able to verify as being true.
Okay. And like pretty impressive considering it seems like there was not any kind of record of a lot of these facts anywhere. It was the daughter was probably the only person on earth alive that still knew a lot of these things.
Exactly. So yeah, there wasn't really any way that Ryan could have just stumbled upon this as a 4-year-old, you know. So the big one that he did not get correct was the manner of death.
Right.
Marty Martin had leukemia, and he actually ended up dying of a brain hemorrhage. So Ryan had said he had died when his heart exploded.
Yeah.
But
it's gotta be tough to keep track of what you're dying from as you're dying from it, though. I'll give him up.
I would imagine that's probably not, top of mind. Like, oh, this is going to come up later. I'm going to have to remember.
Right. Let me remember specifically what was hurting as I died.
So, I mean, it's pretty incredible the amount of things that Ryan got right. And just the fact that, Marty Martin's sort of a unique person, unique life that he'd had and unique life that he lived. And the fact that, he was able to get, he danced on Broadway and had a big house with a pool and traveled the world on boats, was a talent agent, all these things. And the fact that Ryan was able to recall all of these things.
I will say, though, Ryan was pretending to direct movies, and it sounds like Marty wasn't a director.
Yeah, that's
sounds
fair.
like he was around directors, but he wasn't the one calling action.
Yeah.
But I don't know. A lot of people in Hollywood, they want to direct. Maybe that was Marty's dream.
Yeah.
He was hoping to get into it.
He loved film sets.
Yeah.
So what happens when we die?
It's a good question.
So that is something, of course, that they've talked to Ryan about. And he describes it as being an awesome light that one should go towards.
Right.
And that everyone comes back in a new body to live again. Ryan said that he recalled...
I'm just thinking that he's like, and they wipe your memory, but the machine was down that day. So I didn't have to go through that part.
Ryan said, that is an interesting line of thinking. Like why some people remember and not others?
Well, and also as presumably somebody explained this to him, in the in-between lives, like, hey, so here's how everything works. You won't remember this, but we'll tell you anyway.
Yeah. Ryan said he recalled being in his mom's womb.
Okay.
And asked why she had wanted him to be a girl.
Okay.
And it's true that she very much wanted to have a girl.
So you somehow picked up on that.
And Ryan added that he had seen her cry for a long time when she learned that he was going to be a boy.
Yikes.
And this is like a direct quote from Ryan. "This doctor guy did a test and told you I was a boy. You got mad and said he was wrong. You just knew that I was going to be a girl. Mommy, it was Daddy's birthday. You went to a restaurant afterward to eat and you cried for a very long time." And his mother recalled this, regretted her behavior on the occasion, and was so embarrassed that she couldn't really talk about it, but she could not deny that he was absolutely right in all respect. Like, this is truly how she
I'm sure she felt differently now, but
of course.
But she remembered feeling that way.
Yes. Eventually, after, all of the excitement of the production and, meeting with the doctor and everything kind of starts to wind down.
Yeah.
Eventually, Ryan, kind of moves on. And, I think having the experience of going to Hollywood and sort of visiting a lot of the places and kind of just sort of getting some of the confirmation that he was remembering things that actually were true. It helped him to kind of move on and just sort of live life as a regular kid. He used to have all these things up in his room that were sort of related to old Hollywood and Marty's life, and pictures of the Eiffel Tower and New York City. And his mom walked into his room one day and he'd taken them all down. He was just like ready to be a normal kid.
Wow. That's probably a little bit of a relief for Mom.
Yeah. And so what really makes this story sort of stand out, like I said, Dr. Tucker, he wrote a book. He's spoken to thousands of kids who have these memories. But I think what makes this one stand out so much is that there is the ability to corroborate a lot of the details.
Well, it is also the kind of case that, there's a worn out joke about how people that claim they were reincarnated, it's always, I was Cleopatra. It's never, I was, a slave building the pyramids. It's always somebody famous. And this is a case where this person wasn't, he was more famous, I guess, than the average person in the 30s, but, certainly not somebody a kid would be aware of.
Right. And I think that there are cases where it is just impossible to verify anything that the kids are claiming because either it happened so long ago that, of course, there's no record of the person. I was in the Civil
War or whatever.
Right. And, this didn't happen that long ago. It was like there were people still alive that knew Marty that could,
vouch.
Yeah. I think having all of the research that the Dr. Tucker did and just meeting with the daughter and everything, I think it's just makes for like a really fascinating, compelling case that he got so many details right about this person.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting to think about if people are reincarnated, that you must have, obviously most people don't remember it. Don't remember their previous lives.
Right.
So that if this is a thing, some part of the process is you're not supposed to remember your previous lives.
Right.
And this kid did. And that I think kind of shows why you need to have the slate wiped, because to coin a Hollywood term.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not coining it to reference a Hollywood term, but you can kind of see why. Well, if you don't wipe it, then you have a 4-year-old obsessed with old Hollywood, and it takes him a little while to like grow out of that and become his own person.
Right. Yeah. It makes me wonder about how many kids do, have memory or claim
and the
things.
Parents
and
just
it's
never,
just like, they're kids being kids. It's not something to really dwell on.
When my little brother was little, he's not so little now. He used to tell us that he would go to Japan at night. That he would go there with his blanket called Gabi. And they would go to Japan. And he didn't really seem to know anything about Japan, but I remember me and my parents, I was, I don't know, probably like 9 or 10, but my parents being kind of creeped out by it because he was so adamant about it. And matter of fact, when you would ask him questions about what he was doing there, it just didn't seem like he was making things up the way a kid normally seems.
Yeah.
But it did make me think. I was reading something recently where they were talking about the idea that at the beginning of life and the end of life, the veil is thin. That is the time when kids and people like on their deathbeds see things that other people don't see and don't react to it like, oh my God. They react to it as like, oh no, she's right there. She's standing in the corner.
Right.
So it does make me think about that kind of stuff. And it also makes me think about, I was thinking recently about death, and I was thinking how this is going to just sound like I'm in like a dorm room stoned on a freshman year or something. But it's crazy to think, everybody's got these ideas of what happens when we die. Somebody's right, right? Somebody hit the nail on the head, and that person might be the people that say nothing happens. It's just oblivion. There's nothing there. But some people are right. It's one of these things. Or how crazy would it be if it was like, oh, all the theories about what happens when you die? No, nobody got it right. It's something else.
Yeah.
No, nobody knows. It's you're not even gonna believe it. It's nobody in all of human history has guessed what happens. It's insane.
Yeah.
But maybe we become little boys again, or little girls,
or animals,
or hopefully not animals. I wouldn't want. Would you want to be reincarnated as an animal?
Depends what kind.
Well, pick your poison or pick your favorite animal. What animal would you want to be?
If I came back as a pampered dog, like house, dog that lived in a very loving home.
Yeah, you'd be all right with that.
So bad, and probably wouldn't have memories of my past life as a human.
What if you knew you used to be a Hollywood agent? You used to be very powerful, and now you're a dog.
Yeah, that would be rough.
Yeah. Also, you're vegetarian, and most dogs don't eat vegetarian.
That's a physical. My physical body wants to be a vegetarian, but my soul.
Your soul's an omnivore.
Yeah.
So if you were a dog, it'd be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
you never know.
Something to think about.
Indeed. So there are a lot of these really interesting stories of kids who've had past life experiences. So I probably will do more in the future, but I find them very fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is, even if they're not right in it being, oh, I used to be this person. If somehow they're gaining access to like somebody else's memories or something, that's still a very weird thing to be able to get that much right. It seems like something's going on. Maybe they're not reincarnated, but something weird's happening for sure. Well, if you like the show, why not follow us on social media? Want to Hear Pod. We're on all the social media. Check your favorite social media. We're probably there. You can also email us, wantohearpod@gmail.com. You can send us a voice note, a voice memo on your phone. If you've got, something wild to share, maybe something you've heard about, something that's happened to you. Yeah, the sky's the limit. wantohearpod@gmail.com. And if you've got a minute, if you gave us a nice review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we would really appreciate that. We're a new podcast. Those kinds of things are super important. And we really appreciate you helping us out, helping us get into that discovery algorithm so people can discover us. Thank you. Anything else, Laura?
See you next week. You'll hear us next week.
Yes.
You won't see us.
No, probably not. Probably still just hearing us.
Want to Hear Something Weird is a Clamor audio production, distributed by the Cloud 10 Network. Hosted and executive produced by Tom Reynolds and me, Laura Anderson. Executive produced by Aaron Hilliard.
Clamor General Manager Rich Statter. Associate Producer Ethan Aronson. Post-production supervised by Devin Ruskin. Production assistant Samara Mullick. Special thanks to Sim Sarna and Saiba Krieger at Cloud Tech.
Seeking the truth never gets old. Introducing June's Journey, the free-to-play mobile game that will immerse you in a thrilling murder mystery. Join June Parker as she uncovers hidden objects and clues to solve her sister's death in a beautifully illustrated world set in the Roaring '20s. With new chapters added every week, the excitement never ends. Download June's Journey now on your Android or iOS device, or play on PC through Facebook Games.